There we go. Jennifer Warnes and Joe Cocker this morning on DCFM 88.9. It was 28 past 9, and I suppose we'd better do this, and we better introduce it all and do it properly. So here we go.
It's time now for the latest news on what's hot and what's not in the world of technology with Matthew Dickerson on Tech Talk. Here on DCFM 88.9.
Morning, Matthew.
Hey, good morning, Richard.
How are you?
Good, very good, thank you.
Do you like the intro? No. Anyway, where did you park this morning, by the way? Where's your car parked in front of us here?
I parked right beside your car.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
It's free parking here.
Yeah, it is.
But it is. But I tell you what, parking fines last year in Australia, a staggering $600 million in parking fines.
Quite incredible, isn't it? So you don't think I'll get a parking fine where I'm parked at the moment?
No. Well, I think we might duck out and give you a ticket anyway, just for fun. But however,
So the interesting part is that people claim all sorts of reasons for having a parking fine, and they obviously send in information to the local authorities and say, please don't give me that fine. Here's the reason that I didn't park correctly or parked for too long or whatever it might have been. The number one reason given for parking in the wrong spot or having a parking fine is the signs were too confusing. So a company's brought out an app, and you can actually shine or show the sign that's near where you're about to park onto your phone, and that app will tell you exactly how long you're allowed to park for, whether it's okay to park at this time of day, because obviously it knows the time of day it is at the moment, and then you can feel more comfortable in parking there without the confusion. So it sounds like a convenient excuse to me, but someone thought it's a big enough problem, they've created an app to try and solve the problem.
well, I mean, the signs here aren't too bad, but some of the ones in Macquarie Street, loading zone this time. These times are free. You can do it in the afternoon. You don't park here on Sunday morning. And they are confusing.
You do have to stop sometimes and have a bit of a read. What time of day is it? It's before 10 o'clock. Can I do this? And it's Sunday. So I understand that, but I just, in all honesty, Richard, I think when someone sends in a letter and says, please don't give me a fine, I didn't understand. I think they're trying it on a little bit. But anyway, if they download this app, that solves all the problems.
Yep, $600 million a year on parking fines.
Incredible,
It's
isn't
a
it?
staggering amount of money. It really is. Anyway, I could get on to hidden cameras and those sort of things, but we won't do that here because it's Tech Talk. Now, people are having Zoom meetings all over the place.
They are.
All right, and I do know that when you're having a Zoom meeting every now and again, someone else is raving on, so you can step out of camera and go and get a coffee and come back and go yawn. Yeah. I was at a place yesterday where they're having a conference and they're having lunch, and I've never seen a bigger group of bored people on all my board days. But I don't know whether it certainly wasn't a Zoom meeting, it was a conference anyway. So
I've got a solution
how
for
do
you.
how do you escape?
Well, if you're a bit zoomed out, and
Yeah.
people are getting a bit zoomed
Yeah.
out at the moment, then there's a new website that's been developed by a gentleman who has witnessed or experienced this exact problem
Yeah.
where people are getting completely bored or just over the whole Zoom concept. And sometimes you can't really just say, look guys, you're a lot of boring, I'm just going, okay? I don't know if that's always appropriate, especially if it's your boss on the Zoom line.
Right.
So he's got a little audio application that you, instead of tuning into your normal microphone, you tune in through his website, which then effectively goes to your microphone, and you can talk and do what you normally talk, but you can actually choose from a range of sounds to be introduced into your microphone. So, for example, you can have some dogs barking, and then people start saying, who's got the dogs barking on the line? You go and fix those up. Oh, I better go and fix up the dogs that are barking in the background, or babies crying, or construction zone, or my personal favourite is when the line starts dropping in and out, so it's crackling, and oh, who's got that? Oh, it must be a bad connection. Look, I'll just drop out, guys. I'll have to come and get back into the call in a little while. I'll just go and see what's wrong with my internet connection. So a whole range of sounds you
Oh, I
can pick
love it.
from a whole menu of
I
things,
love it.
and then you can just introduce those, and then suddenly there's your excuse to get out of the call. I must admit though, the baby crying is an interesting one. If you haven't got any babies and your excuse to get out of a meeting is a baby crying, if you're going to go that far to get out of a meeting, it must be a really bad meeting you're in. I didn't know you had any babies there, Richard. Oh yes, I've got some babies crying in the background.
I'm a grandfather. I'm looking after him today. Yeah.
That's right.
Right. Have you been sitting at your desk for too long? I mean, I sit here and get up and down while the music's on all the time.
Yeah.
Sitting at your desk for too long.
It is a problem, especially during COVID, where a lot of people were at home, so they didn't have to get up, get ready for work, get in the car, go upstairs, elevators, all the rest of it. They sat at home, they went from their bedroom to the kitchen to their office, and then sat there for most of the day. And you don't really realise what's happening until hours later you go, wow, I'm just feeling a bit tired because you're just stuck in that same spot. It also causes some musculoskeletal problems, and in Europe, they estimate 100 million people throughout Europe have got some musculoskeletal problems in the neck and shoulder area in particular. So, a researcher's come up with a sensor that sticks on the back of your neck. It's got some origami-like arms that come out and stick on the sides of your neck, just like a Band-Aid would stick on. And effectively, it detects your movement. And if you haven't moved for a certain period of time, it puts a warning on your computer screen in front of you to say, hey, Richard, you need to get up, move around a bit. And it's just that gentle reminder, just get up, stretch a bit, move your arms, move around a little bit, sit back down. It takes 20 or 30 seconds, but it just means that you'll have a better attention span towards the end of the day, and also not hopefully have some of those problems with your neck and back. So, good idea.
I reckon it's a great idea, isn't it?
Some wearables, Apple Watches, Fitbit, that type of thing, do something similar if you've been still for an hour, they'll give you a warning on your watch, but it's on your watch, so you might not always be consciously aware of it, where if it's on your computer screen right in front of you, it's a bit more obvious. But anyway, it's interesting the research we're coming up with to solve some problems that are being created by COVID-19.
It is interesting. I mean, when I first started in radio, a lot of the time you were standing anyway because the desk was so high.
Yeah.
And I really thought what we could do here when we're building this, it was impossible to get it to go up and down, so you could either announce standing or sitting. But,
yeah, right.
Getting the wiring for that was just mind-blowingly expensive, so we didn't do it. But anyway, all right, now EVs break into the ute market.
We've been told by our government, by our federal government, that EVs will wreck our weekends and tradies can't have them because utes aren't appropriate and all the rest of the rubbish. And of course, the biggest sellers at the moment in Australia, the Toyota Hilux, the Ford Ranger, huge sellers in Australia. But there's a range of utes coming out in the EV space. There's another one that's just come out that's a canoe. And it looks like the old Combi, you ever a Combi van in the front of it? It looks a bit like that, except a very modern version of it. All glass around the front. It looks like almost a luxury car inside the cab. It's a dual cab ute. But in the back, you've got a whole range of things that can lend itself towards that whole EV space. Because you've got the batteries down low and flat, it means you can stack things higher because you've got that very low centre of gravity. So it's got stacking on top of the actual cabin itself.
Oh, right.
And then you can stack up high on the back. You've got a canopy on or use the back open. But the other part, just little innovations. Rather than having a fold-down tailgate, it's got fold-out tailgates that then has a little extension piece at the bottom. So if you had long bits of timber, for example, you wanted to put in, they can stack in the back easier. Then you've got shelves that slide out from the sides to store more components, if you like, tools, that type of thing. And they also act as steps to be able to step up onto the back of it. And then because it's an EV, you've got power points all around it. So if you're out on a work site and you've got your ute there, you've got your batteries for your various tools that you use, you can plug them into one of the power points. 4 different power points around the ute are there ready to plug in things. We have talked before about a car that you plug in your microwave, or you could plug in the same sort of thing, your microwave, your tools. You can even run some of your electric tools directly from it if they weren't battery operated. Again, it's all these different things because you've suddenly got not this requirement for a big motor as one part of the car and a big fuel tank another part of the car. You get rid of those, you just need an electric motor at each wheel or one for each axle, and suddenly you've got all this space you can do things with. So this is another one that we'll see. It looks quite futuristic. Obviously we can't show pictures on the radio, but it looks quite futuristic, the canoe. But keep an eye out for that and a whole bunch of other utes that we'll see coming out over the next probably 12 months to 24 months.
And what's the range of them? Any idea?
So this one's only 320 kilometre range, and that's probably one thing I think they've let themselves down a little bit. It's got an 80 kilowatt hour battery, but even my car sitting out the front's got a 100 kilowatt hour battery. So I would have thought they would have gone for a bigger battery. A lot of the utes that are coming out, some of those really big utes, the Rivian for example, they're going for very large batteries, 150 kilowatt hour, even 200, because A, you want the longer range, but B, you can run lots of other things off them as well. When you've got all that battery, you can run your things like your power tools, your microwaves and your barbecues and all those sorts of things. So I think in this iteration, the first iteration, 80 kilowatt hours, I think they'll find that is probably a sticking point for consumers, and they'll introduce one with a much larger battery, is my
sounds as though they'll have to do it. I mean, I rather like the idea of a motor on each axle. The 4-wheel, if you're slipping, say back left, put front right on, and away you go. Get yourself out of that way.
And I've tried it in my car. I mean, my electric car's four-wheel drive. I've actually tested it where I've sat two wheels on dirt off the side of the road and two wheels on bitumen, and then put my foot down to see how it goes. And the two wheels on the bitumen accelerate, and the two wheels on the dirt accelerate, but they don't slip. But you can just hear them starting to slip, and it's because it's all electronically controlled per wheel. It's obviously clever enough to work out where the power needs to go.
Yeah, same with my mob. My thing, it does the same thing as well as if it's four-wheel drive.
Yeah.
And it changes. It could put 40% at the front and 60 at the back, and then it'll change it around and do all those sort of things anyway.
Yeah.
We won't talk
Anyway,
cars.
keep an eye for some interesting utes coming out.
Interesting use, yes.
Yeah.
Now, scams, finally. Peter Judd, morning Peter, sent me a very good scam from Britain yesterday where people rung up on the phone and told if they don't do this in a certain amount of time, it's going to cost them £900 and £900, and people are falling for it.
Yeah.
Scams here are way up again.
They are up again. The ACCC just released their monthly report. $21 million were lost in scams in February alone. That's pretty scary for 1 month alone. Some of the things that are interesting from that, so $8.1 million was lost in investment scams, about $4 million in romance scams. The really concerning one for me is the $1.5 million that was lost in ID theft. And ID theft is a really intrusive thing, and I've had some people that I've had to try and help out that have had their ID stolen. And if someone steals your credit card details and runs up $50 on your credit card, that's annoying, but you can get a new credit card. When someone steals your name, your date of birth, even your mobile phone number, and actually pretends to be you, which is a scary concept I understand, but when they pretend to be you, and then they start taking over your life, they start being you at the bank, they start being you at the tax office, that's really hard to get your identity back. You can't change your date of birth. You don't want to change your name, obviously. You could change your mobile phone number, but that's a pain because lots of your friends have already got that. So ID theft, even though it's only 1.5 million of that 21 million, that's a really scary one. The other thing that's interesting is phone scams you mentioned. A lot of people think these are mainly email scams, but there were phone scams in this, social media scams, even in-person scams where people are knocking on people's doors. $2 million we lost in February through in-person scams. Knocking on your door, either collecting for a charity or saying they're going to save your life or we're going to install solar panels, whatever it might be. You really just want to be alert. And unfortunately, Richard, we're getting to that point in society where we need to almost assume that we're not trusting the person we're talking to and be proven otherwise, whereas I think in the past we've always trusted someone until we've been proven otherwise.
Yeah, it's sad. I mean, I mentioned last week I got another phone call this week from a very well-spoken person about my Telstra account.
Yes.
What account? Oh, they're good.
Yeah,
they're getting better and better.
And you soon find out, if I've got the time and I get one of those calls, you start asking them a few questions.
Yeah.
And it's not unusual after you ask one or two questions and you realise they have no idea and they realise they have no idea. They give you this litany of abuse. They call you every name under the sun.
Yeah. I got told, oh, we're going to cut your phone off within 24 hours and this, that and the other. And you will be banned from being a Telstra customer the rest of your life. And I said, really? You go right ahead, pal.
That's right. Can you really see a company threatening a customer with that sort of
Of course
action?
they don't. I mean, but people fall for it and it's just sad.
Yeah.
We've got to go. We're way over time, as usual.
No problem.
Always interesting, Matthew, and we'll catch up with you in a couple of weeks. You'll have Megan next week.
Hey, good. Enjoy your little break.
I will.
Think of me while you're away.
Yeah, I will, yeah. Yeah, sure. I'll think of everybody when I'm relaxing at night, yeah, with a glass of something in my hand. It's coming up to 18 to 10. This is DCFM 88.9 Tech Talk with Matthew Dickerson. Back again around about 9:25 next Wednesday morning on DCFM 88.9. Here's Kenny Loggins.